Hello, I'm Nima Rajan, and welcome to Northwest Newsweek. Construction continues in Fort Frances on the new OPP detachment. That's part of a $182 million initiative from the provincial government to upgrade and replace OPP detachments across the province. On Monday, members of the community were joined by the region's provincial representative and the Solicitor General of Ontario for a groundbreaking ceremony at the new site. Adam Riley was there and he files this report.
It won't be until mid to late 2020 when OPP officers will be deployed from the new detachment currently under construction. But there is already hype over the modern amenities it will eventually provide. During a special groundbreaking ceremony, Fort Frances Mayor June Call says while the OPP are a police force for the town, their downtown location limits their immediate response to the region and calls the new location an ideal one.
They're so much closer to getting onto the highway to go either west or east when they get a call out, so they're more available that way as well, considering where they were before, right in the middle of downtown in a small area.
Also on hand for the groundbreaking was Solicitor General Sylvia Jones. She says there is always talk of the need to contain costs and finding efficiencies within the system.
The other part of that piece is making investments where it makes a difference in our communities. Right. And this today's announcement is an example where we have made a commitment to invest in our community and protect our communities.
Kenora Rainy River MPP Greg Rickford says the new detachment is a badly needed piece of infrastructure as the current office has been in use since the OPP took over policing duties in Fort Frances 23 years ago.
It doesn't just provide a better workspace for our members to provide their services, but also the technology that goes with a modern building.
The new detachment will also offer improved safety for officers, visitors, and those who have been detained, expanded evidence lockers, and improved closed-circuit television. Detachment Commander Inspector Nathan Schmidt echoes Rickford in regard to the modern amenities for the new building.
With the technology that this new detachment will have and the environment that this detachment will have, we're hopeful that that will encourage more victims to feel free to come forward and speak to the police. We don't always have that at the current location. This new location is certainly going to support victims of crime in the district.
Another benefit for the new OPP detachment is its proximity to the Rainy River. In addition to the provincial highway network, the OPP also respond to incidents on the area's lakes and waterways. And the 50 meters it will soon take to deploy an OPP watercraft from the detachment into the Rainy River could mean the difference between life and death. Adam Riley, TBT News.
Fort Frances isn't the only community here in the Northwest building a new OPP detachment. Marathon's detachment is also getting a 21st century upgrade. Work continues at the site, which is located along Peninsula Road, and while construction is not as established as the project in Fort Frances, it is still slated to be completed and ready for the fall of 2020. Constable Peter Burton says the current detachment, which is connected to the town's fire department and wasn't intended to be a police station, but for years officers and staff had made the best of it.
We adapted it, and unfortunately right now we've grown, and just size-wise it's not really what we need. It's definitely not what we need. We've got officers sharing offices. Our cell space is quite limited. The access in and out of the building is again a little bit tricky at times, so this new facility is going to give us all those things a lot safer for all the officers that are working out of the detachment as well as the general public.
Burton says the new facility will provide several modern amenities which will help improve the physical and mental health of officers. A single vehicle collision south of Dryden has left one person dead. OPP say the vehicle was traveling southbound on Highway 502 on Sunday afternoon when it left the roadway and hit a rock face. 3 people in the vehicle were taken to hospital, but only 2 survived. A small bush fire resulting from the crash was extinguished before emergency crews arrived. The highway was closed for around 5 hours, and the crash is still under investigation. Police have not released the identity of the victim. The province is looking to improve safety and security at correctional facilities in Northern Ontario by expanding the number of staff members on its crisis intervention teams. The Thunder Bay Jail was the site of a riot and hostage-taking in December 2015, while the Kenora Jail experienced a hostage situation last September. 3 ISIT members will be hired in Kenora by the end of 2019. 3 members will also be added in Thunder Bay to cover the jail and the correctional center on Highway 61. The province's plan will boost the number of ISIT members per city from 9 to 12. According to OPSU Local 708 President Sean Bradshaw, that should mean a better response time to incidents, but it won't fix the bigger problem.
We've been pushing for this for a while, but it's still a drop in the bucket. It doesn't take bodies out of the buildings. You still have 200 inmates at the jail. And that is just strictly an infrastructure issue. So it's not going to change the root cause, the reasons ISIT is used as a force response. When you're housing inmates 3 to a cell, we're going to be activating those teams and using that. Unfortunately, not dealing with the root causes doesn't help anything.
Bradshaw says the local correctional facilities need a K-9 unit, additional officers to fill the positions, and most importantly, shovels in the ground for the new promised jail in the city. Meanwhile, Solicitor General Sylvia Jones was in the Northwest this week, where she toured both the Kenora and Fort Frances jails. She says while the government isn't going to be building jails across the province, it will be implementing the policies and training to keep staff as safe as possible.
Infrastructure is always going to be a challenge. You know, in the province of Ontario, we have jails that are over 100 years old. To magically transform them into what we now see as how we want to move forward on protecting officers, protecting staff, as well as inmates is challenging.
It was business as usual this week for Kenora Rainy River MPP Greg Rickford, even after the shakeup in cabinet last week. On June 20th, Premier Doug Ford shuffled his cabinet, and it turned out to be a drastic change for several ministers. But Indigenous Affairs and Energy, Northern Development and Mines Minister Greg Rickford saw no change in his portfolios, save for a new associate minister. As mentioned earlier, Rickford was in Fort Frances with Solicitor General Sylvia Jones, who also saw no change to her responsibilities on Monday. Jones says she is relieved to be able to continue in her capacity as Solicitor General.
This is a file that's very important to me. You know, there are few things that a government has a responsibility for that is more important than safety and security for our communities. And I'm proud to serve.
And I think a year in, it's pretty safe to say, as the minister alluded to, that we've got an exceptional caucus, and it was time to share some of the responsibilities. We had a relatively small cabinet with, in some instances, multiple portfolios. I've maintained those, but I've got some welcomed help. Bill Walker's a good friend of mine.
A Thunder Bay wildlife rescuer was met with a tough predicament this past weekend. Jen Salo was contacted by the owners of a resort near White River about a bald eagle that they found, which was missing one of its feet. This picture taken by Salo shows the eagle after her long struggle to capture it. She says the gruesome injury was likely sustained as a result of a leg hold trap injury. Salo works daily with a number of injured and orphaned birds, particularly birds of prey. She says she believes the eagle was lost and the limb was a week ago, and unfortunately there was no coming back from such a severe injury.
It's mind-blowing to me that he even survived the actual original injury. Like, the blood loss must have been incredible, right? He was very emaciated, so he had been that way for a while, unable to hunt, unable to pretty much do anything, right?
Salo sought the advice of other experts in her field, and they concluded the best they could do for the eagle would be euthanasia to end its severe pain. Salo wants the public to be aware that rescuing wildlife is not the job of the MNR, who were initially contacted to deal with the distressed eagle. When we come back, leaders of industry and the leaders of the region's Indigenous communities gather in Thunder Bay to discuss the future of the resource extraction economy. The leadership of Grand Council Treaty 3 is weighing in on an ongoing SIU investigation in Kenora. On June 10th, a 35-year-old man was arrested by Kenora OPP and was rushed to hospital before passing away. Grand Council Treaty 3 was partially identified the man as a member of the Grassy Narrows First Nation. In a release, Grand Chief Francis Kavanagh states, though the death is under investigation by the SIU, it is our hope that the OPP officers involved in the arrest aren't responsible for his death. Police are not above the law, nor are they jury or executioner. Both the Grand Council and the Grassy Narrows First Nation will continue to monitor the investigation until the findings are released by the SIU. An update on a future mine in the Ring of Fire was presented on Thursday at a forum based around mining, forestry, and revenue sharing in the Northwest. Hosted by the Anishinaabe Development Fund, the event was headlined by Noront Resources CEO Alan Coutts, who gave the latest projections on extracting minerals in the remote area. Corey Nordstrom reports.
The CEO of Noront Resources predicts that in 5 years' time, the company should be pulling nickel, copper, and platinum out of the ground in the Ring of Fire area, and soon after that, chromium production.
Eagle's Nest will be up and running, and within about maybe 2 or 3 years, we'd like to have the first chromite operation running. And you know, the attractive thing is that the first chromite deposit, Blackbird, is only 500 meters away from the nickel mine. So all the infrastructure that's built for the nickel mine, the accommodation complexes, the airstrips, all the roads and all that, can be reused.
Before the mines begin production, a road needs to be built. Noront has agreements in place already with Martin Falls, which is working on a north-south road to the Ring of Fire and the Arrowland First Nation, and they're working on an agreement with Webequie, which is planning an east-west road from Pickle Lake. Coutts believes the proposed roadway north-south from Arrowland is currently further along.
We can see that with the environmental assessments being finished by the year 2020, and then a construction period of roughly 2.5 to 3 years. That would see that road finished in 4.5 years' time, and then we could have the mine up and running shortly after that.
Coutts was in town for a forum hosted by the Anishinaabe Development Fund, which had presenters from the mining, forestry, and resource management sector together under one roof.
It's been a while since we had updates on some of these sectors, so this gives us an opportunity to bring forward people that are in the industry plus the First Nations with respect to business opportunities and see where things are at.
Corey Nordstrom, TBT News.
Nearly 3 months after a fire at the Musselwhite gold mine north of Thunder Bay, it seems a restart of the operation is still months away. The mine's owner, Newmont Gold Corp, says they don't expect normal production to resume until the last quarter of the year. On March 29th, a conveyor belt caught fire, leading to a power shutdown that stopped the pumps which keep water out of the mine. Now, fortunately, no one was hurt. Around 700 people work at Musselwhite. The company would not provide information about the impact of the fire on their employment levels. When you consume medication, your body processes it and breaks it down before flushing it out of your system. From there, it enters the sewer systems and eventually the lakes and rivers. And while you may have absorbed most of the medicine, there is still some residual medication that leaves your body, which is the focus of one of the many studies being conducted at the experimental lakes area east of Kenora. Scientists at the facility are tracking how pharmaceuticals discharged into the water can affect aquatic animals. Currently, the study is being conducted upon trout through a catch and release method. First, the fish are caught, measured, and then tagged with a microchip before being released back into the water. The fish are then recaptured, scanned, and measured at a later date to determine any changes in its physiology. Matthew McCandles calls pharmaceuticals in the water the next big problem in terms of water health.
We don't know. Fish are on drugs, and we need to understand what that means for them, how it affects their reproduction, and how it ultimately affects their stocks, and whether or not they'll be around.
Stay tuned. We'll have more after the break. In Kenora, the return of summer means tourism season gets underway. But like the rest of northwestern Ontario, it also means much needed infrastructure work can get done. Part of the city's downtown area has been shut down to accommodate for that reality. But as Adam Riley reports, the work done now is expected to save the city a lot of headaches in the future.
A major project is underway in the heart of Kenora's downtown. An entire section of Chipman Street is closed to allow crews to complete water and sewer upgrades and prepare the area for a roadway realignment. Kenora Mayor Dan Reynard says the $7 million project is needed to replace century-old infrastructure and better improve traffic flow in the downtown area.
That's probably some of the original infrastructure that goes back to 1905. Combine that with our storm drains. We're building a brand new First Street South through the former mall property.
Traffic on Chipman Street is expected to get back to normal by mid to late July, after which the project will be relocated onto the mall property and will continue until completion. The end result will see a new roundabout installed in the city and could lead to future capital projects. Reynard says the project is being funded through multiple avenues.
We did receive $1 million from the provincial government. About $3.5 million came from our sewer and water reserves, which is addressing the major infrastructure. And then the rest is coming from reserves, or we've also debentured over a 10-year period.
But a new road isn't the only project on the go in the municipality, thanks to the hospitality tax implemented last October, which is netting Kenora just over $250,000 in revenue. The city is putting that money towards several smaller projects to improve the economy.
You're seeing investments into our docking, investments into our ski club, into our airport commission. They're looking at projects, obviously all our advertising, promotions, those type of events that used to be funded by tax dollars are now being funded through this hospitality tax.
Reynard says some of the funds involved with the airport are being used for attracting a new carrier to operate out of the new terminal, which opened last summer. Adam Riley, TBT News.
The Ford government has announced some interim measures on how animal welfare cases will be handled as it phases out the investigating role of the Ontario Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals. Starting this weekend, the new model will come into effect. A chief inspector appointed by the Solicitor General will provide oversight on the province's animal protection. The existing agents with the local SPCAs, including the ones in Thunder Bay, will be appointed as inspectors and will be appointed by the chief inspector. This is also a new 24-hour toll-free number to report animal concerns. According to the province, this temporary solution will fill the gaps until the province transitions to a new model. And it says the changes will create an animal protection system that will be more robust, transparent, and accountable. Students arriving at the Matawa Education and Care Center this September will be better set up to achieve their dreams. The center has received a large donation at the launch of their new charity in support of education youth initiatives, along with rebranding of their facility. The center received $35,000 from various businesses to fund a number of projects, including bursaries for post-secondary school, cultural programs, and outdoor recreation. That money was donated to their new charity, Matawa First Nation Education Authority, is to support the over 150 youth who are expected to arrive at the center this fall. The center also rebranded to encompass all 4 of the Matawa Education divisions. CEO of Matawa Education Center, David Paul Achny-Peneskam, says it's about investing in our youth's future.
It's also going to be operating the high school that's going to be here, the residence that's going to be here, and also the all other sports gymnasium facilities that we'll be establishing on the site.
It's definitely a start. Hopefully other organizations see this and support them when they need that, especially for a great cause like something like athletics and a hockey rink.
Larissa and his brother is sponsoring the students' hockey and ice rink and stresses the importance of athletics in personal growth. Anyone wanting to donate to the charity can go to the center's new website, mfnea.ca. The Thunder Bay District Health Unit has launched a new dental health survey aimed at seniors around the area. Health promotion planner Adina Miller says many senior citizens have complex dental issues, such as cavities and infection. And if they're retired, many of them may not have dental benefits or insurance. The survey has two types of questions, some on demographics and the rest about dental health access and previous issues with their teeth or gums. Miller says the survey results will provide valuable information for potential new dental programs at health unit offices.
In April 2019, the Ontario government announced that funding would be available for a seniors dental health program with potential service provision through public health units. So in light of this announcement, we wanted to get a bit more information about our local senior population, as right now at the health unit, our programs focus on children and adolescents. So we don't have a clear picture of our seniors and their dental health needs. So this survey will really help as we look to plan and implement a program that best suits our population.
The anonymous survey is available until July 31st. Area seniors can find it online on the health unit website, and paper copies are also available at area libraries and district health unit offices. The T-Baytel for Good campaign has wrapped up its springtime funding announcements. 6 recipients were announced, with the winners receiving up to $5,000 for their initiatives. Applicants had just under 2 weeks to engage their communities and encourage the public to vote for their submissions. The Dewdrop Inn Soup Kitchen was awarded $5,000 from T-Baytel for their Keeping Cool at the Dew project. With temperatures rising, the money is being used to install a new ventilation system to cool the building so that the volunteers can better serve the roughly 300 people that they feed each day.
It's amazing. It's awesome there. I call them our army of awesomeness. We couldn't do what we do without them. Yeah, they're wonderful. And the supporters for this campaign, they were at the computers day and night. We had 279,000 votes, so that's a lot of votes and a lot of time at the computer. They wanted us in the top 2, and they were determined to get us there.
One of the things that T-Baytel for Good means, and the community fund in general means to our company, is that we actually get to have input from the communities we serve, from the people who are already doing good work there. And it's just a way for us to be able to support their efforts and actually promote and help other people understand all the good work that's already happening.
The 5 other recipients include the Gillies Volunteer Fire Department's training program, Codabot Kids Coding and Robotics, St. Ignatius High School's Drama Department, Stand Up for Cleanup, and the Red Lake Family Entertainment Series. And that'll do it for this edition of Northwest Newsweek. I'm Nima Rajan. Take care, everyone.